Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad that you could join me today. And if you're listening to this on Podomatic, you can also come to iTunes and you can look for Women Entrepreneurs Radio. And you could subscribe there and also go to the website womenentrepreneursecrets.com, and you'll find links there for different ways you can subscribe to the show and different platforms where it's available. So I really hope that you'll do that and regularly listen in to the show. So I'm going to introduce my guest for today. Laurie A. Watkins is an accomplished writer, public speaker, entrepreneur, communication specialist, and seasoned political strategist. She's worked on 2 presidential campaigns, served in positions from Capitol Hill to the Pentagon, and more recently was a guest lecturer at West Point, the United States Military Academy. A native Floridian, Laurie currently thrives in California. So welcome to the show, Laurie.
Thank you for having me, Deb. Nice to be with your listeners today. I'm actually speaking to you from Fort Lauderdale, where I am on part of my book tour. So hello from sunny South Florida.
Oh my goodness, I'm jealous because I'm in cloudy New Jersey right now. So.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, we've had clouds for a few days now, so I'm like, okay, when's the spring weather coming? But I was really so excited to talk to you because, reading about your background and working on these campaigns and such a high level, high pressure, and now, you're advocating for health, and I'm like, wow, that's really interesting because, as we talked a little bit beforehand, a lot of women entrepreneurs really don't take the time to take care of themselves because they're always just trying to get things done and really focused on that. So, I want to talk a little bit more about that. But, what really brought you to say, I have to write this book? I really have to change my focus. What brought you to that point?
So during the 2008 presidential campaign, I had hit rock bottom, as we say, in the burnout technology and terminology. And I felt that I was burnt out, but I kept going and I was able to still kind of function. And I know a lot of people do that. They might feel that, well, unless they have a heart attack or a stroke, that they can keep going and it's not affecting them. Mm-hmm. Well, or until it's too late. And so for me, I happened to be driving a car across Alligator Alley in Florida, going on a trip to spend 3 days with Caroline Kennedy. And I almost crashed my car from exhaustion, from lack of eating food properly, lack of sleep, being exhausted, and just not my best. And that's when I had that moment that I had to make a change. Now, for most people, and including myself, you don't make that change the next day when you wake up. You think about it, you have that scary moment, but somehow, like I said, we keep going on, right? Until maybe something really bad happens. You kind of always have a warning before it happens. And so right after the 2008 campaign, I went right into trying to get a job in the administration and moving to Washington, D.C. I didn't have a vacation at all. I just went right into the next thing. And so for that was getting another high level, high performing position, a job. And I did. And it's kind of started all over again. And I felt it starting all over again, but I made the conscious decision that this was the time now. And that was triggered, and I felt supported and motivated to do that while I was working at the Pentagon, because I was working amongst the best and brightest in the world and in the largest office building in the world, sure. But it was a culture and a governmental agency that promoted wellness, taking care of yourself, and working out in the middle of the day, sending soldiers and civilians saying, hey, I'll be down at the gym, from 12 to 1 during my lunch hour. If you need me, I'm here, but I'm downstairs in the athletic center. And that was it. No one batted an eye. No one said, where are you going? It was supportive. And taking care of yourself, as far as, sure, we all work late hours, but there was no discussions or meetings on the weekends as far as your boss bothering you, and expecting you to do something without communicating it to you, or doing something last minute that will kind of dismantle the plans you might have had with your kids or your spouse or your family, right? And I know a lot of people struggle with that happens, but at the end of the day, we're allowing that to happen. And that's where the word respect really came in for me. Is a female colleague of mine, while I was working at the Pentagon, 1 or 2 months into the job, said, hey, have you gone downstairs and checked it out? And I said, no, I've been kind of, intimidated to go do it. And she said, well, I'll take you. Come, let's go work out tomorrow morning. And I said, sure. So we started working out, and we were amongst, only a few women down there. There was maybe her, maybe 2 more. All the rest men, which was fine. But it made me feel a little uncomfortable because I was already in a new place. And we started working out, and she saw my face, that I was making and kind of acting differently than I normally would. And she said, what's wrong? And I was like, God, I just feel like everyone's looking at us. And she said something that I didn't really know at the time was so profound and would change my life, but it did. And she said, they're always going to look. And she said, but you know what? They respect you for being down here this early in the morning and for working out. And that kind of stayed with me, respect. And it wasn't really a male-female thing. It was that whoever was taking the time to do something for themselves and to do something healthy, to do something that benefited them, that served them instead of hurting them. So they respected it, and I took that to heart. So a couple weeks later, I joined a CrossFit gym. And for me, that was really the first change that I had that ended up causing other positive changes in my life. So I started with working out. That had to, the only time I could do that with the job that I had was for the 6 a.m. class. So that meant I had to get up at 5 a.m. every day. Well, getting up at 5 a.m. every day meant I had to go to bed earlier the night before. So that started changing my sleeping patterns and my sleeping habits. And I started doing things in a more positive way, really taking notice to also then the food that I was eating. Because I was waking up so early in the day, I had to make sure I had enough energy and some kind of food in my stomach before I went to the gym. Then after the gym, when I went to the office and I was sitting around a conference table and there were pastries and donuts scattered about across the conference table, I started saying to myself, I'll be darned if I'm going to have 1 or 2 donuts that's going to cancel out that entire grueling workout that I just did a couple hours earlier this morning. So my food and my diet started changing. And all of this happened with one change. And I talk a lot in my book about, in order to make time, you have to change habits. And we have to change a lot of the things that we've been doing in the past because they, for the most part, have contributed to where we are. And if you're not happy with where you are, we got to change those things. So one thing of working out changed the way that I went to how early I went to sleep, how early I woke up. It changed the diet that I had. I started eating a paleo or a Whole30 diet, which is clean eating, meaning no sugar, no preservatives, no artificial anything, no just whole ingredients, no beans, no grains, no wheat, no dairy, no alcohol. And it really affected, the alcohol totally affected my social life as far as being a professional. There are so many happy hours and or work events, company-sponsored events that are over the top. You want to go because they're fun. You're hanging out with colleagues, but you're also getting work done. And so to get work done, I always like to work in a fun environment. So you go. Most of the time it's required that you go, and you go. And then there's trays and trays of free food, or bars and bars in every corner of free alcohol. And you might have dinner plans later that evening already, but you find yourself eating all of these hors d'oeuvres, drinking a few glasses of wine before you've even headed out the door. And that all affects, your energy levels. Are you putting caffeine or alcohol into your system that's going to affect the way you sleep later on that night, or the way you feel the next morning when you wake up? If you don't feel too hot, what's the first thing that's going to go? Your morning workout usually. And you sleep in. So trying to change, again, being better at the gym because I was getting stronger, but wanting to change my diet so I had more energy and more strength, started changing how I acted in and outside the office. So sure, my social life changed. I might have lost some friends because my priorities changed, but that was okay because I kept thriving. I kept getting stronger. All of these positive things kept happening in my life. And I continued this program that I developed for myself while working in the building and traveling overseas and, living a pretty hectic lifestyle while working for an assistant secretary of the Army. It was a big job. And then I got a call to resign from my post because the president's reelection campaign needed me back in Florida as their policy director. And you can imagine the trepidation or fear that I had to go and do that, because I had worked so hard to overcome that, to reverse all of the damage that I had done, not just from the campaign, but years prior. And I was still working on it. And that really was the biggest factor that contributed to my hesitation. And so I thought long and hard about it. And I said, and I challenged myself right then and there. I said, Laurie, if you want this job and you want the job, but you're afraid of the lifestyle, then you need to be tough and strong and make sure that you can do it by using all of the things that you've been doing here at this job, not letting it fall by the wayside and keeping that exact same schedule. And that is exactly what I did. I worked on a presidential campaign again, but I was smarter and wiser, surely. But I had this program that I developed. I knew what to do. I just had to stick to it. So I still woke up every day at 5 a.m. every day. I went to the gym at 6 a.m. I worked late, but I made sure that I left in time to still go home and make dinner for myself. And the leftovers that I would make sure that I had enough for the next day, I would bring those into the office. So I didn't have to not waste time, but take the time in the morning. If you were rushing, again, that would be the first thing that you wouldn't do, would be to pack your meal or take your meal with you or put something together that was healthy for you. So I had that ready, and I would head to the office after I came home and showered and changed from the gym. And then I incorporated different things into the overall campaign's lifestyle, not just mine. I saw people probably around July or August, we were gearing up towards both the conventions, and the Republican convention was in Tampa where our office was. So we had a lot going on. And I saw some of the staff starting to crack a little, and stress was getting to people. They were using different tone of voice with each other, right? Getting more easily distracted, but also disrupted or annoyed by coworkers or colleagues, and being short with them. And so I was getting massages, because that's part of what I do to take care of myself, because I also lift weights and it's good for my body, right? And my stress levels. So I found a massage therapist, and I thought, why the hell not? Why not bring her into the campaign headquarters? So I went and spoke to our director and said, this is an idea I have. I've spoken to the therapist about it. She's more than willing to pick a day and come in here for a few hours. Can we do it? she wasn't sure, thought it would disrupt the office, and I guaranteed her that it wouldn't, and everything would be great. I would take care of it all, scheduling, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So we did it. And the woman, Emily, came and set up in a downstairs conference room, one of our building neighbors' conference room, set up a tranquil spa, if you will, with candles lit and, essential oils of lavender and music and a running waterfall. I mean, You do not know that you were just downstairs of a buzzing campaign headquarters. And so this lasted for 20 minutes, and everybody that signed up, paid her on their own. I wasn't involved, and it was just a revolving door that this lady had all day long. Mm-hmm. And people are professionals, that no one disrupted anyone. They went back to their seat and no one was the wiser. And everybody afterwards came up to me, and there was a line at my desk, and they said, can we get her contact information? I want to incorporate this back into my own life, because I can't believe just 20 minutes, Laurie, how much better I feel. And I said, I'm happy to give it to you. That's great. That's just one little, I don't find it that innovative. I mean, one little technique that people can do in their office that's going to build camaraderie. It's going to build teamwork. It's going to build, everything you need, the confidence that people can do this on their own, and that you're saying it's okay for them to take care of yourselves. That's what I really wanted for the people I was working with and people that worked for me on my team, were to let them know that they should be making themselves a priority. It's okay, because when you're at your best, our team's going to be at our best. Right. And as far as entrepreneurs and people in the working world, when you are at your best, you're the best for yourself, but you're the best for your coworkers, your spouse, your partner, your kids. Your kids see that too. And it's really important. So bringing in a massage therapist, that was just one thing. Also, in the office, I'll give some examples of, it's not just campaign specific, but that can apply to everyday office settings. So we have birthdays in offices, right? And people bringing cakes and sweets and all kinds of stuff that's usually not the best for us, especially during the day when we need to stay energized and alert and not fall into a sugar coma or let our energy levels go down. So in order to remain true to yourself, if you decide that you are trying to eat better and you're starting to work out more and exercise and take your health and wellness more seriously, don't be afraid to say no. No one's going to judge you. They're going to respect you that you said no. Trust me. They're going to say, wow, oh, okay. Are you doing so? That's great, Laurie. What are you working on? And they're going to be intrigued by what you're doing. And more times than not, they're going to be supportive. But it takes you opening up and saying, you don't have to go through what you're doing, but just say, no, I'm good. I'm not eating cake, right now. Thanks anyway. Happy birthday. You're still there to support your coworkers. You're still there in the social aspect. You just don't have to eat the cake. Right. So I talk about that in the book, Don't Take the Cake, because you don't have to. It's the same thing at receptions. These are just ways that we're, without even really realizing, and making ourselves unhealthy by either eating stuff or drinking things that aren't the best for us. And it's easy to do it. And so in office settings, like on the campaign, we had, we called them our campaign moms, right? These group of ladies, they wanted to bring in food. That was their way of contributing. People do it financially. People give up, housing and whatnot. But these women wanted to either make food or buy it and bring it in for the staff. Well, it started out being trays of lasagna, trays of garlic bread, maybe like a platter of salad, but that was probably a garnish for a salad platter. I mean, a sandwich platter or something. Right. Chips, cookies, trays of cookies. I mean, sweets and danishes and pastries for breakfast. Now, while this was appreciated, of course, by the staff, because you're going to eat whatever's there and it's free, so they love that, and it's quick, my team was failing. I wasn't eating it. So I really noticed when they would, right? And so they'd eat it. They'd be all excited. They'd come back to their desk and I would watch them. It was clockwork every day. I'd look over and they'd be slumped over and they'd have their head in their hands and they'd be really tired. They'd hit that wall of just eating this incredibly heavy meal. And so, simple enough, I kindly, gently spoke to the women and said, can we do something about this? We appreciate that you're bringing in this food. Trust me, we do. But can we just make it a little healthier because the staff is crashing? And I showed her, I pointed them out, and they go, oh my gosh, we had no idea. And the response was kind of surprising to me, but alarming and surprising in the same sense was, oh, we thought young people, you didn't like eating healthy stuff. And that's a big misconception, right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't true. And I said, no, ma'am, what the truth of it is it's free, and whatever you put out in front of them, they're going to eat it. So I'd appreciate it. And I'm sure they would, even though they don't know it, if it was better than this kind of stuff. And she said, no problem. And sure enough, trays of salad started arriving. Healthy sandwiches, from places that were more conscious of the ingredients that they were using. They were still doing what they loved, but they were seeing a different reaction out of the staff. The staff started saying, wow, they've really stepped up their game, because they noticed the quality was different. I didn't need to say a word. I didn't want the credit. I didn't care. I just wanted my colleagues and team to be at their best and feel good and know that they were eating good stuff. So there's really easy ways in the workplace that we can kind of turn these things around. But those are just some small, I started a host, instead of going out at night and going to the bars and getting, having too much to drink like I used to in 2008, which you want to hang out with your coworkers, and it's a way to blow off steam or to talk about your day, which really isn't good for you because you just lived through it. Why would you want to continue talking about it and stressing about it?
Right.
There was no office gossip. I didn't get involved in that anymore. And again, like I said, maybe it contributed to some social aspects with my colleagues, but it wasn't a priority of mine anymore. And my work was thriving, and people saw that it was, and it was because I was at my best. And so from the campaign, transitioned back to living in Washington, D.C. And this time I went and worked in the private sector. And again, I kept all of those my program and those tools that I used on the campaign and applied that into my job as I had been doing, because this was my new routine, and I adjust as necessary. And while I was doing that, I wasn't really enjoying my job. And so I started to think about, what is it that I want to do with my life, with my career? What's my next move, right? And we think about that while we have jobs, but I wasn't feeling challenged. I wasn't feeling that I was contributing and working on things as I had done in the past. So I started putting a book together. And that forced me to really even more so think about what I wanted to do. And while I thought I've always wanted to write a book, it became more of a reality I'm a great networker, I will admit, and always but I had to adjust my time management to accommodate that, right? With not going out as much and finding more unique, clever ways to connect with people in a healthy way, which I go into in my book as well. But networking, and I came across a person that was part of an organization of mine. We were on a trip to Turkey, actually, and I overheard him saying that his wife was, an editor. She helped people write book proposals. She had ghostwritten for people, done all kinds of things. And I said, wow, this is the first time that I've heard that there's a person who exists that could maybe just talk to me, right? And I could say, look, I have this idea. So I did. I ended up hiring her just to help me organize all of my journal entries, right? All of my notes that I had taken during the campaign. And then after, I had started helping people also after I got back to DC. I helped a friend of mine who I read about in the book lose 35 pounds while working in the White House. And no, I don't. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a degree, behind me. But what I have is my own experiences and my own coworkers and my own family and friends who've asked me for help, and it's working. And it's really wellness activities. It's not taking any medication. It's not doing anything that involves a prescription. It's doing simple things through eating different food, moving your body and working out and exercising. And taking time for yourself to relieve stress in healthy ways. But the bottom line is people don't take nearly as much time as they need to, period, whether that is in a healthy or unhealthy way. And realizing that I've looked for it in the dictionary, There is no positive word for selfish, but you have to be selfish to yourself.
Right.
You have to take time for yourself because no one is going to schedule that or put it on your schedule except for you.
Mm-hmm.
And about working out and like really honoring yourself. When you make a commitment to someone in the workplace, you honor that, right? Or you feel like a real heel if you cancel on that person. Or if you are the type of person that cancels on people, I'm sure you've lost a lot of friends or contacts because it's just people don't have time for that anymore.
Right.
And when you're selfish with your time and you make the decision and you really have that serious conversation with yourself when you start to make these habit changes of, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. And in part of this is available on my website, and it's www.laurieawatkins.com, LaurieAwatkins.com.
Mm-hmm.
I give away, you can sign up for a 5-day mini course. And the first thing that I address out of the 5 modules of time management, stress management, food, sleep, and fitness are time management. If we don't find the time to get back from our schedule, from why it's so overcrowded, sure, how are you going to fit in working out now? How are you going to fit in what I'm recommending as far as how to cook healthy meals? And I also provide a ton of recipes in the back of the book. How are you going to do that if you don't find the time? So the first thing is time management. So I give an exercise to people. I want you starting tomorrow, I want you to write down every single thing that you do during the day. And it's not including your meals and whatnot, but, I ate, for 20 minutes. I went to the gym. Hopefully you did exercise for however time. I spent 45 minutes on social media this morning after I woke up. I want you to write down everything. And then the following day, I want you to look at that list that you wrote from the day before, because you'll be in a fresh space because it's going to be a brand new day. You probably will have forgotten that you wrote that down. And you're going to wake up and you're going to look at that list. And I want you to look at every single thing on there and pull out what you are tolerating.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of people I have spoken to, and this used to be me, maybe you one time a coworker asked you to take them home after work or pick them up to take them to work. And over time, you just continue to do it. And they're not going to stop asking you to do it because it's helping them out. But guess what? It's not helping you out. And it's hurting your schedule, and it's causing you to rush in the morning because you have to do something that's not serving you. It's serving somebody else. And I'm not saying don't help out friends anymore. And I'm not saying that at all, because we can't do everything ourselves, which I'll get into in a bit. You have to ask for help. If you don't, you will sink. Right. And that's a common misperception that strong people, CEOs, managers, directors, they have this fear that if I ask for help, it's showing a sign of weakness. No, you look weak when you are frazzled, you're missing appointments, you're running late, you're canceling. That's when you look weak. So to try and have it all together, you need to ask for help. And so asking for help, taking those things off of your plate that you're doing that you don't need to do anymore. What about meetings? How many meetings do you all sit in where there's no need for you to be there? Someone just invited you. They included you on the calendar invite, so you felt you had to go. And it's not even required for you to go. Now, some companies are different. They'll put a required list, right, and just a CC, but it's communicated that that's the way it is. So you know it's optional. Or how many times have you been asked to be on a conference call and you don't even have a speaking role? You're in listening mode.
Right.
But maybe it is imperative, even though you're not speaking, maybe it's most likely that this is important and you should be listening. I have a suggestion for you. This is a way to relieve stress during your workday, to get you out of the office and to give you some time to exercise, all while doing a conference call. Take it outside. If you're on the computer sitting at your desk and you're supposed to be listening on a conference call, you're not present. So now you're being disrespectful to the people on the phone, because you wouldn't, if you were giving a presentation or talking about something, would you want someone to do that? And then you do have a meeting and they ask about something that you talked about on the call the day before. Have you guys ever had that happen? And you realize, right, that person didn't listen to a word I said. Well, don't be that person. Instead, be a little selfish. Take that conference call and go outside and listen, but go on a walk. You're really present because you're not distracted by your computer. You're enjoying the day, but you're listening to that call. Right. So that's a way, I think, like there's some really practical advice that I give in the book that shows people how to fit in those types of activities, whether it's stress relief or just get moving during your workday. Get a stand-up desk. I have one. They're a little more expensive. Companies nowadays, if you ask them for one, they will use their resources to get it for you. It's going to help you, which is going to help them.
Right.
You know, time, back to the time management, as far as going back through that list, those hours that you're getting back from eliminating those things that you were tolerating, put them into things that serve you. Not watching Netflix, not, you know, I'm not saying that those are bad things. We all do them, but I have to monitor myself of how long I do it because I could get caught up in a trap of watching a whole season.
Right.
And I have to say, no, 30 minutes or an hour, right?
Right.
And then you go back to doing what you're supposed to do. But take that time that you're gaining back because it will happen and you'll be really happy and, you know, you'll love me for it, but don't fill it with stuff that's not good. Fill it with stuff like, I'm going to cook dinner tonight when I get home instead of picking something up that's already made at the hot bar, you know, somewhere at a grocery store, which is the best case scenario. Please don't tell me you're going through the drive-through, you know? I mean, those kinds of I want, and that's a perfect way to relieve stress. So for me, again, instead of going out after work hours with my colleagues, I went home and cooked. And that was so great for me. I had quiet time in my overly verbal life all day long. I was on conference calls all day long. I was talking to people. I couldn't wait to be by myself, to have quiet time, to be present in what did I accomplish today? Maybe I had some major victories that I just skipped right on by because my day was so busy. No, I honored and respected myself by doing that. I want to touch on something about working out and go back to where I talk about respect. I've noticed that, so I encourage people, if you are going to work out, just for the highest probability that you will get it done is to do it in the morning. Because as the day goes on, hundreds of things can come up that will thwart your plans of that, you know, after work workout.
Right.
And what if your kids need to be picked up? What if your spouse couldn't pick them up and now needs you to? Or your boss says, can you stay 30 minutes later for this meeting? I really need you. What's the first thing that always goes for people? That workout. Work is always number one. And so we need to start changing our mindset about that and being, again, a little bit more selfish. Well, if you do have kids, they see everything, right? They know everything, even though we don't think that they do, but they do. And let me tell you that what my friend said about the guys in the gym but they respect you for being down here because you're working out, taking time for yourself and like improving your body and mind. They respect you. So let's remember that again. Your kids or anybody, your coworkers, when you do those things, you're setting the tone for how people treat you and respect you. Really. And your kids. So if your kids see you make a plan with somebody and cancel, maybe you made a plan for them to go hang out with a friend and it was with their mom, but you canceled because you didn't feel good, or mom's so stressed out, or I have this brief or work that I have to do. Your kids see that. They see that you broke a commitment or a promise. They see that you snap back at them or somebody else because you're just tired or frustrated. Right. They see that you are stress eating or not cooking food, or they're not getting a home cooked meal because you're stressed out. And I mention this because I noticed recently, so I moved to California, Northern California last October. I used to live in Washington, D.C. Different gyms have different demographics and they're different. So this gym in California has a daycare center, which is wonderful, right? Really gets a lot more moms in the door because they don't have to worry about who's watching their kids. I've been noticing the kids and how they're into the workouts. Like they're watching their parents, and they're not just moms bringing the kids. There's a lot of fathers also, and a lot of couples that work out and bring their kids. And I'm mentioning this because I see these kids, that's all they're going to know, right?
Right.
They see their parents taking time out for themselves and saying, you're going to be in here with a babysitter for an hour because this is mom and dad's time. And it's really just opened my eyes because I don't have kids, but I'm very perceptive and I observe kids a lot. And it's just been really eye-opening of how they notice these things. And so I kind of use that as motivation to a lot of the moms out there, is that show them a good example by being good to yourself.
Right.
And taking that time out and giving that time to yourself, because gosh, you deserve it. I promise you deserve it. There's no one that doesn't think you don't deserve it except for you. And we got to change that.
Exactly. That's true. Wow, this is so powerful, Laurie. Please let everyone know where they can find your book, Go From Stressed to Strong.
So everyone can get my book through any of the big booksellers online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, independent booksellers. And you can get that information and link directly to it, or, sign up for my mini course, or I have a free chapter download also for people that might not be familiar with the book yet and are on the fence and they just want to see what it's all about. And the chapter that I give away that you can easily download is chapter 2, which is getting into a routine. And I give you 20 steps on how to do that. So it's really packed with helpful information. And that website is www.laurieawatkins.com. LaurieAWatkins.com. I look forward to having you all sign up as an email subscriber, and so we can connect once again. And I really appreciate you having me on your show, Deb.
Well, I appreciate that. This has been fantastic, and I think everything you've said has been, as I said, really powerful for women entrepreneurs, and I'm sure there's men listening as well who really don't take the time to care about their self-care, and thinking that selfish is a bad word when really they really should be focusing on themselves and really making that a priority. And you really have shown how that can be done. So I really am just sitting here, listening so much, I have to stop and think, oh, okay, I'm the host, right? So I have to I'm like, oh, just listening. Oh, who am I? Where am I? Oh, okay.
Well, I love talking to people, and I hope that your listeners felt like we were having coffee, in a coffee shop sitting across from one another, because I try to keep it light and casual, but the words are powerful, and it's up to you. It takes you to make that one change. Just one change, I promise, will snowball into so many other positive things.
That is fantastic. And again, great advice, because people realize that they just start with that one thing, even if it seems overwhelming. Just start with one thing, and you will be surprised how things will change for you. So, Laurie, I know you're busy. You're on your book tour, and I just want to thank you again for taking the time to talk with us. This has just been a wonderful, just listening to you and getting all this wonderful advice, and can't wait to read your book. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Stay strong.
Okay, everyone, I know you've enjoyed this, so please make sure you share this on social media and come to Podomatic and get the link there, and also womenentrepreneurssecrets.com, and you can find all the links, including iTunes, and you can subscribe and also listen online. So once again, to Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website, WomenEntrepreneursSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dvcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.